Before we jump into part 3, if you've been enjoying My Enemy is My Fated Alpha, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Faith's Storyverse, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. The truth is about to shatter everything Aurora thought she knew. Secrets will be exposed, loyalties will be tested, and the line between love and revenge will blur. Now, let's continue with part 3. A loud wave of whispers spread through the crowd. What? No way! Evidence! I stood frozen. My eyes moved from Selena to the papers in her hands. Kael had just started recovering from the attack. Now this. Selena slowly pulled out the first photograph. Look closely. She turned it so the students could see. Even from where I stood, I recognized Kael. He appeared to be standing in a dark place with several men dressed in black. The crowd gasped. Another paper followed. This document, Selena continued, shows an order connected to Rowan's death. My heart skipped. Rowan. His name alone made my chest ache. Students immediately began talking. I knew something was strange. So he really did it. I can't believe President Kael would do that. One boy shook his head. I always trusted him. Another replied, looks like we were all fooled. I looked around for Kael. He wasn't anywhere in sight. An academy teacher stepped forward. Selena, where did you get these? She looked at him calmly. Someone who wants the truth to come out gave them to me. The teacher accepted the papers. His face became more serious as he read. Several other instructors gathered around him. Their expressions slowly changed. One of them whispered, call the headmaster. Another nodded and hurried away. My stomach twisted. Just yesterday, I had started questioning everything. I had found the edited tournament footage. I had wondered if Kael was innocent. Now, these papers were saying the opposite. My thoughts became a tangled mess. What was true? Who was lying? I didn't know anymore. Less than an hour later, the entire academy gathered inside the Grand Assembly Hall. The room was packed. Students filled every seat. Teachers stood along the walls. The headmaster sat on the raised platform at the front. Kael stood alone in the middle of the hall. His injured shoulder was still wrapped beneath his uniform. He looked pale, but his back remained straight. I sat several rows behind the front. I couldn't stop looking at him. The headmaster held the documents in his hands. Kael Ashthorne. His voice echoed through the silent hall. Serious accusations have been made against you. Kael nodded once. I understand. Do you deny these claims? I deny ordering Rowan's death. The hall filled with murmurs. The headmaster raised one hand for silence. What about these photographs? They are not what they appear to be. Someone behind me scoffed. Of course he'd say that. Another student shouted. Then explain them. Kael remained calm. I can't. That answer made the room even louder. See, he has no excuse. He admitted it. No, another student argued. He didn't. The arguments grew louder. The headmaster struck the table with a wooden hammer. Silence returned. Until this matter is fully investigated. He looked directly at Kael. You are relieved of your duties as student president. A loud gasp spread through the hall. Even I felt shocked. The headmaster continued. You will surrender your student president badge immediately. The room remained completely silent. Slowly, Kael reached up. His fingers rested on the silver badge pinned to his chest. For a moment, he simply looked at it. Then he carefully removed it. He walked toward the platform. Without saying a word, he placed the badge into the headmaster's hand. The sound of metal touching would echo through the hall. It felt strangely heavy. Kael stepped back. I understand. That was all he said. No anger. No begging. No shouting. He simply accepted it. I frowned. Why wasn't he defending himself? If he was innocent, why stay silent? As the meeting ended, students poured into the hallway. Their voices filled every corner. He's finished. I never thought this day would come. I hope they expel him. Another student shook his head sadly. I still don't believe he'd do it. His friend answered. The evidence says otherwise. I stood there without moving. Kael walked past me. Our eyes met for only a second. He looked tired. Not defeated. Just tired. I opened my mouth. I wanted to ask something. Anything. But before I could speak, he walked away. I watched him disappear down the hallway. Then I looked down at my hands. Why did this feel so wrong? The rest of the day passed slowly. I couldn't focus during classes. Every time I closed my notebook, I saw Rowan. Then Kael. Then the missing minutes from the tournament footage. Then Selena's papers. Nothing made sense anymore. That evening, I decided to clear my head. The academy gardens were quiet after sunset. The cool air felt nice against my face. I walked without thinking. Soon, I realized I had wandered farther than usual. The old administrative building stood nearby. Almost nobody came here at night. As I turned toward the path, leading back to the dorms, I heard voices. I immediately stopped. Someone was talking inside the building. One voice sounded familiar. Deep. Older. I slowly stepped closer. The office window was slightly open. The lights inside were still on. Carefully, I moved behind a large tree near the window. I knew I shouldn't listen, but something inside me refused to leave. The older voice spoke again. Victor. I recognized him immediately. He was one of the academy's senior board members. I had seen him several times during official events. Another man stood inside the office wearing a dark suit. His back faced the window. Victor smiled as he poured himself a drink. You've done well. The other man nodded. The academy believes exactly what we wanted. Victor chuckled. They're making this much easier than I expected. A cold feeling spread through my body. What were they talking about? The man asked quietly. What about Kael? Victor took a slow sip before answering. He'll carry the blame. And the girl? Victor smiled. She's already doubting herself. I frowned. The girl. Me. The man crossed his arms. What if she discovers the truth? Victor laughed softly. She won't. My heartbeat became louder. Truth? What truth? I leaned a little closer to the window. Victor placed his glass onto the desk. The missing journal pages are gone. My breath caught. The journal. He knew about the journal. The man nodded. And Rowan? Victor's smile slowly widened. Then he said the words that made my blood run cold. Rowan died exactly as planned. Everything inside me stopped. No. My ears had to be lying. He knew. He knew about Rowan. My hands began shaking so badly that I had to grip the tree beside me. I couldn't breathe. No. Rowan hadn't died in an accident. Victor knew exactly what had happened. He had just admitted it. Tears filled my eyes. All this time, had I been chasing the wrong person? Had Rowan really been murdered? My foot suddenly shifted against the dry leaves beneath the tree. Crunch! The sound was small, but in the quiet night, it sounded deafening. Inside the office, Victor stopped smiling. His eyes slowly turned toward the open window. His face hardened. There is someone outside. My heart nearly stopped. Victor was looking straight at the window. There is someone outside. The man beside him immediately turned toward the door. I'll check. Panic rushed through me. No. If they found me here, they would know I had heard everything. I quickly stepped away from the window and crouched behind a row of thick bushes. My breathing became fast and uneven. Stay quiet. Don't move. The office door opened with a loud creak. Footsteps echoed across the stone path. Slow. Careful. Whoever had come outside wasn't rushing. He was searching. I held my breath. The leaves above me shook as the wind blew through them. A flashlight beam swept across the ground. It came closer. Closer. It stopped only a few feet away from where I was hiding. There was definitely a noise, the man muttered. I pressed one hand over my mouth. Please, don't look this way. The flashlight moved slowly across the bushes. For one terrifying second, the light landed on the edge of my shoe. I squeezed my eyes shut. A cat suddenly jumped out from another bush with a loud hiss. Meow! The man stumbled backward. Oh! The cat ran across the path and disappeared into the darkness. The man sighed. It was only a cat. I almost cried with relief. He waited another moment before turning around. I don't see anyone. His footsteps grew quieter as he returned inside. The office door closed. I stayed where I was for several more seconds. Only when I heard their voices again did I slowly stand. I didn't wait another second. I ran. The cold night air burned my lungs as I sprinted across the academy grounds. I didn't know where I was going. I only knew I had to get away. Victor's words kept repeating inside my head. Rowan died exactly as planned. Exactly as planned. That wasn't an accident. That wasn't a mistake. Someone had planned my brother's death. I slowed to a stop near the empty training field. My legs gave out beneath me. I dropped to my knees. Tears rolled down my face. No! My voice broke. Rowan! I wrapped my arms around myself. I was wrong. For months. I had blamed Kael. I had hated him. I had challenged him. I had accused him in front of the entire academy. And all this time, the real truth had been hiding somewhere else. My thoughts suddenly stopped. Victor. My uncle. I slowly looked up at the moon. Uncle Victor had always acted kind. Whenever Rowan and I visited during family gatherings, he smiled at us. He brought gifts. He laughed with everyone. Could he really? No. I remembered Rowan's journal. Someone inside our own family is hiding something. My breathing became shaky again. Inside our own family. Not another family. Ours. The words suddenly made terrible sense. No! I whispered. My uncle. My stomach twisted. He may be the one who killed Rowan. The sentence hurt to say, but I couldn't ignore it anymore. Not after what I had just heard. The next morning, I told no one. Who would believe me? I had no proof. Only words I had overheard. Victor was respected throughout the academy. People would think I was lying. So I stayed quiet, but I began paying attention. Every time I saw Victor walking across campus, I watched him carefully. Every smile, every conversation, every movement. He looked exactly the same as always. Calm, polite, respectable. No one around him seemed afraid. No one suspected anything. That frightened me even more. Later that afternoon, Victor stood alone beneath the academy balcony. A man dressed in black approached him. His face was hidden beneath a hood. Victor didn't even look surprised. You heard everything? The man nodded. The girl escaped. Victor sighed. I expected that. He reached into his coat and handed over a thick envelope. There can be no mistakes this time. The hooded man accepted it. What are your orders? Victor's voice became cold. Send the elite rogues. The man's eyes widened slightly. All of them. Yes. Victor looked toward the academy buildings. She knows too much. The hooded man bowed once. It will be done. That evening, the academy library stayed open later than usual. I borrowed several old tournament records, hoping to find anything connected to Rowan. But after hours of reading, nothing. Every report looked clean. Too clean. As I left the library, the campus had already become dark. The pathways were almost empty. Only the sound of insects filled the night. I hugged the books against my chest. I should have left earlier. A strange feeling settled over me, like someone was watching. I quickly looked behind me. No one. I started walking faster. Footsteps echoed behind me. Slow. Heavy. I stopped. The footsteps stopped too. My heartbeat quickened. I turned around. Still no one. The path looked empty. Who's there? Silence. I took another step. The footsteps returned. 1, 2, 3. I dropped the books. Who's following me? Suddenly, 3 figures stepped out from the shadows. Then 2 more. 5 masked men surrounded me. None of them wore academy uniforms. Their clothes were dark. Their eyes were cold. One of them pulled out a curved blade. Another cracked his knuckles. The tallest one smiled beneath his mask. The order is simple. His voice was rough. She doesn't leave alive. I spread through my body. Elite rogues. Victor had really sent them. I slowly stepped backward. There are 5 of you. The tall man laughed. We know. I clenched my fists. I remembered every lesson from training. Every fall. Every mistake. If I wanted to survive, I had to fight. The first rogue rushed toward me. I ducked beneath his punch and kicked his knee. He stumbled. The second attacked immediately. I blocked his arm and struck his chest. He barely moved. Too strong. Much stronger than the academy students. The third rogue grabbed my wrist. I twisted free, just before his knife slashed through the air. Another attacked from behind. I barely rolled away in time. The blade scraped across my sleeve. I got back onto my feet. My breathing became harder. This wasn't training. These people wanted me dead. The tallest rogue laughed again. She's better than I expected. Finish it. All 5 charged together. There! A powerful voice echoed through the night. The rogues froze for half a second. It was enough. Kael burst into the clearing. His shoulder was still bandaged beneath his shirt, but he didn't slow down. "You again," one rogue growled. Kael stepped in front of me. "Stay behind me. I can fight." "I know." His eyes stayed on the rogues. "But not all 5. The tallest rogue pointed his blade. "Kill them both." The fight exploded. One rogue swung his weapon. Kael caught the man's wrist and threw him into a tree. Another rushed from the side. Kael spun and drove his elbow into the attacker's jaw. The man collapsed. The remaining 3 attacked together. I joined the fight. One rogue aimed at Kael's back. "Look out!" I slammed into the attacker before he could strike. We both crashed onto the ground. I punched him as hard as I could. He grabbed my arm. Before he could move, Kael kicked him away. The rogue rolled across the grass. The tallest man looked around. 3 of his men were already down. He cursed under his breath. "Retreat!" The remaining rogues quickly disappeared into the darkness, dragging the injured ones with them. Silence returned. Only our heavy breathing remained. I looked at Kael. "You came. I heard them. You followed me. I was making sure you were safe." I looked away. "You always do that." He smiled faintly. "I failed once already." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "The day Rowan died." My head snapped toward him. The smile disappeared from his face. We stood quietly beneath the moonlight. Finally, I asked the question that had been burning inside me. "If you didn't kill my brother..." My voice trembled. "Who did?" Kael lowered his eyes for a moment. When he looked back at me, I saw something I had never seen before. Pain. Real pain. His voice was quiet. "I've been trying to find that answer for 2 years. Neither of us spoke after that. The night felt strangely still. Then, a gust of wind swept across the ground. Several loose papers fluttered out from beneath an old stone bench near the path. One page landed against my foot. I bent down and picked it up. The handwriting made my breath catch. It was Rowan's. Kael stepped closer. His eyes widened. "There," he whispered. We looked toward the pile of scattered papers hidden beneath the bench. They were Rowan's missing journal pages. The page trembled in my hand. I wasn't sure if it was because of the wind, or because my fingers wouldn't stop shaking. I stared at the familiar handwriting. There was no mistake. It belonged to Rowan. The same neat letters. The same way he crossed his T's. The same small curve at the end of every sentence. I looked up at Kael. His eyes were fixed on the papers scattered beneath the old stone bench. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then I whispered, "They're really his." Kael slowly nodded. "They are." I hurried toward the bench and dropped to my knees. The papers had been tied together with a worn piece of string that had come loose with time. Some pages were folded, others were stained with dirt. I carefully gathered every single one. "Help me," I said quietly. Without a word, Kael knelt beside me. He picked up the pages the wind had carried farther away. When he handed them to me, our fingers brushed for only a second. Neither of us pulled away immediately. Then I looked down again. "Right now." Only Rowan mattered. "I need to know," I whispered. "I need the truth." Kael stood up and looked around. "This isn't a safe place." I nodded. "Come with me." A few minutes later, we were sitting inside one of the Academy's old study rooms. Almost nobody used it anymore. The windows were dusty. The fireplace hadn't been lit in years. Only a single lamp on the table gave us enough light to read. I spread the pages out carefully. My heart pounded so loudly that it almost drowned out every other sound. The first page began several days before the tournament. I finally found the missing financial records. I frowned. Financial records? I continued reading. Money has been disappearing from the Blackwood Pack treasury for months. At first, everyone blamed poor management. Now I know someone has been stealing it. I swallowed hard. The next page was written only 1 day later. I followed the trail. Every record leads back to one person. I already knew the answer before I read the next line. Uncle Victor. My chest tightened. "No," I whispered. Kael remained silent beside me. I turned the page with trembling fingers. I wanted to believe I was wrong. I checked everything 3 times. I prayed I had made a mistake. I didn't. Tears began filling my eyes. "Rowan, you were carrying this all by yourself." The next page was covered with rushed handwriting. Uncle Victor isn't only stealing from the pack. He's buying loyalty. Several elders have already accepted his money. I felt sick. I kept reading. If Father discovers the truth, there will be a civil war. I stopped. Father. My father. He had trusted Victor completely. He called him his closest brother. He never imagined. I covered my mouth with one hand. No! Kael quietly slid the next page toward me. I nodded weakly before reading again. I finally understand his real goal. He doesn't want money. He wants the Blackwood Alpha throne. The words blurred through my tears. I blinked several times before continuing. He's been planning this for years. If Father steps down, Victor believes he should become Alpha. Anyone who stands in his way becomes a problem. I couldn't breathe properly anymore. The room suddenly felt too small. Too quiet. I forced myself to turn another page. This one looked newer. The ink hadn't faded as much. The tournament begins tomorrow. I'll stay quiet until it's over. I don't want to distract the team. A weak smile appeared on my face. That sounded exactly like Rowan. Always thinking about everyone else before himself. Then I reached the next page. The smile disappeared. After the tournament, I'm taking every piece of evidence straight to Father. I'll expose Uncle Victor in front of the entire Blackwood Council. I stared at the sentence. My eyes refused to move. Expose him. Rowan had planned to tell everyone. Then, the next page. The handwriting shook badly. I think Uncle Victor knows. My heart almost stopped. He looked at me strangely today. He smiled, but his eyes were cold. I quickly grabbed the next page. If anything happens to me, it won't be an accident. A tear landed on the paper. Then another. I couldn't stop them anymore. The next page was the last one. Only a few lines had been written. If you're reading this, Aurora, my hands trembled harder. Please don't chase revenge without knowing the truth. Promise me you'll protect yourself. Uncle Victor. The sentence stopped there. No more words. The page ended. I stared at the empty space. For several long seconds. I couldn't hear anything. Not the wind. Not my breathing. Nothing. Then everything crashed down at once. He knew. My voice cracked. He knew he was going to die. The papers slipped from my hands. They killed him. I looked at Kael. I blamed you. Fresh tears poured down my face. I hated you. I accused you in front of everyone. I challenged you. I kept saying you murdered my brother. My shoulders shook. But it wasn't you. I buried my face in my hands. It was him. My own uncle. The words hurt more than anything I had ever said. My own family. A sob escaped my throat. I tried to stop crying. I couldn't. Everything I had held inside for months finally broke apart. I wasn't there for him. I cried harder. He was scared. He was carrying all of this alone. And I didn't know. I couldn't protect him. The room blurred through my tears. I felt completely empty. Like someone had pulled my heart out. I expected Kael to speak. To tell me to calm down. To say something. Anything. Instead, he quietly moved closer. He sat beside me. Not too close. Just close enough that I didn't feel alone. He didn't interrupt my crying. He didn't tell me everything would be okay. Because it wasn't. He simply stayed there. Silent. Patient. For the first time since arriving at Mooncrest Academy, I didn't feel like I had to carry my grief by myself. Minutes passed. Maybe longer. Eventually, I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand. I'm sorry. Kael looked at me. For what? For everything. He shook his head slowly. You believed what you were given. I still hurt you. You were hurting too. I lowered my eyes. I should have listened. We can't change the past. His voice stayed calm. But we can decide what to do next. I nodded slowly. Victor has to answer for this. He will. But we need proof. I looked down at Rowan's pages. We have proof. Kael carefully gathered the journal pages into a neat stack. Not enough. What do you mean? Victor has influence. He'll deny everything. I sighed. Then we'll find more. His eyes met mine. Together. The word felt strange. Yet, it also felt right. For the first time, we weren't standing on opposite sides. We were fighting the same enemy. At that very moment, inside the Grand Council chamber of the Blackwood Pack, dozens of elders sat in complete silence. Victor stood before them wearing formal alpha robes. His expression was calm, confident, proud. The room waited for him to speak. He slowly looked around at every elder before smiling. Then he raised his voice, so everyone could hear. From this day forward, he paused. I declare myself the permanent alpha of the Blackwood pack. What if the real enemy was never the one she swore to destroy? Aurora has finally uncovered the shocking truth, but exposing it could cost her everything. Will she choose revenge, or fight alongside the mate she once hated? Don't miss part 4, where the final battle begins, and every secret comes to light. If you enjoyed the story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Faith's Storyverse so you never miss our next thrilling werewolf romance. See you in part 4.